I was battling something I didn't even know I was in a battle with. If you feel like something's off, we have to be our own best advocate, do our own due diligence, and find out what that means. And
in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how wearing something on my wrist. I'd read a lot about red light therapy. I've done a lot of infrared saunas with the red lights, and so I knew of the potential there, but I didn't know a lot about it. And I really honestly didn't think just wearing something on my wrist would be, it didn't seem significant enough.
Thank you so much for joining us today on another awesome episode of Bioenergetics Beat. I'm Heather Gray, a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner. And this episode is brought to you today by NIKKI, Unleash the Wellness Within. It's a non-invasive, easily affordable, and highly effective approach to optimize wellness. It's a wearable device that puts frequency better based life in your hands and on your wrist. Make sure to stick around to the very, very end because we've always got some incredible giveaways, but you're not going to want to miss 1 second of today's show. Today is going to be our first part of 2-part series. The month of May, we're going to be doing something a little different where we're going to be kicking off Lyme Recovery Month. We'll be featuring Lyme guests. We'll talk about people's journeys with this horrible disease. We'll give you some inspiring stories and recovery options to help you get your life back from Lyme. Now, even those of you who don't have Lyme disease, trust me, you're going to want to stick with us through this month because I can guarantee you in the next 5 to 10 years, you yourself or you will know somebody who has Lyme, and you can, this can help you prevent it. This can help you be a better advocate. Like, you're going to want to stay tuned. So make sure to join us. So again, we also have another amazing contest at the very end. But first, let me introduce Allie. She's be putting on these special podcasts together and interviewing Ryan and Dan. In this interview, Allie Moresco is with the Bachelorette winner, Ryan Sutter, and he'll talk about how being diagnosed with Lyme disease impacted his active life and his relationships. After that, the popular actor Dan Payne describes creating a path to recovery after handling the shock of Lyme diagnosis. Let's go to the first interview.
Well, to start us off, I know so many of us have heard about your journey with Lyme and tick-borne illness, but not always directly from you. So I would love to learn a little bit more and hear a little bit more about your journey with Lyme and your path to diagnosis and kind of what that early phase looked like after you were diagnosed, because I know that it looks so different for everyone, but somehow it's so similar.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story. I'll try to keep it as short as possible, but I didn't get Lyme. I didn't get an acute exposure to Lyme that I know of. So it wasn't like I found a tick on my body or I found the bullseye rash or it was nothing like that. So it was nothing where I could immediately go to the doctor and they could look at the symptoms and verify that it was Lyme and then immediately treat me for it, which is sometimes the case. I think sometimes, at least now with a little more Lyme awareness, people in parts of the country or the world that deal with Lyme a little more frequently, sometimes they're able to catch it early and then they can nip it in the bud, and that's sort of the ideal situation. I think that's more the traditional the traditional thought around Lyme is that it's something that you get bit, you get the disease, you take some antibiotics, and then you go on with your life. That wasn't the case with me. So I and it's weird now because once I was diagnosed with Lyme, I started looking back into my past and recognizing symptoms long before I got really, really sick. Thinking that maybe I've had this for 10 years, and it was just sort of poking out in little ways, but never really just a tidal wave of symptoms. So I don't know exactly when I was exposed to Lyme. I haven't been able to pinpoint that. I spend a ton of time outside. Wherever we travel to, I'm always outside. So there's a good chance that I was in a place where they're finding Lyme in all kinds of states now. So who knows? I don't know. So the first part of this issue is I have no idea where I was first exposed to Lyme. So I was just going about my life. I was a super active person. I played sports collegiately and then professionally, and I got into endurance sports. And I always had this attitude of I never wanted my physical capability or incapability to prevent me from doing anything. So I always kept myself in really good shape. So, for example, if Allie, if you were to have said to me, whatever, 5 years ago, hey, we've got an extra spot on a Mount Everest expedition, but we leave in 2 days. I wanted to always be able to do that. So I've always just tried to maintain a high level of fitness. It helps me with my profession, and it just helps me feel good. So along those lines, I decided to start over in the fire service. I had been in the fire service for 17 years in Vail, Colorado. I wanted a little bit more out of my career. Felt like I had 10 more years or so left. So I came down to Denver Fire to work in the sort of big city and get a different experience. Part of that was going through another fire academy. Fire academies in Denver are 18 weeks long, 5 to 6 days a week, and it's 4:45 in the morning, 4:45 in the morning to 6 or 7 o'clock at night. They're long, hard days. And on top of that, I went through this academy, started in February of 2020. As we all know, COVID came into the world in March of 2020, so that became an issue as well. So what seems to have happened to me was I went into on top of all that, I was 45 years old, so I wasn't young. I went into this fire academy. It was hard work that depleted my immune system. I got COVID, that depleted my immune system. I'm 45 years old. My immune system doesn't bounce back as much as it did. Long story short, by the end of the 18 weeks, I started out the fire academy feeling better than I'd ever felt physically in my life. By the end of the fire academy, the way I describe it is that it feels like if you were to go run the New York City Marathon, and at the end of the marathon, rather than giving you a participant's medal to say great job, they shot you with the flu, and then you woke up the next morning and you felt like you had just run a marathon and you had the flu, and it just was that, and it was horrible. I just couldn't motivate myself to do much of anything but just lay there. And even getting up to go get a glass of water or go to the bathroom took I almost had to say, like, it's almost like, I don't know if you've ever like cliff jumped or bungee jumped or anything like that, where you're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, we go, like you're convincing yourself to go do something really scary. That's kind of how it felt like, just to get up and go get a drink of water. I was like, all right, you can do this. Let's go get a drink of water. It was awful. So I thought once I got through the fire academy, I would be able to kind of catch my breath, and that would go away. So I was pushing through to the end of this academy just to get through it. Basically getting to the end of the day, going to sleep, waking up in the morning and starting over. Finally got through the fire academy, started to get a few days off, thought that I would be able to catch up on sleep and rest, and my body would gradually come out of it. That didn't happen. So I started to seek a medical explanation for what was going on. That started with just my general practitioner. He did an initial round of just basic blood work. I had an ANA titer, autoimmune titer, basically, that came back really high. It was, I think, 1280 to 1 or whatever the ratios are. So it was really high. And that was the only sort of indicator, was that I had this sort of autoimmune thing going on. I was sent to, I think initially I was sent to a rheumatologist, and they did all the tests for lupus and things like that. None of that popped up. And they had no explanation for one, why I had this autoimmune issue going on, and for two, why I just felt terrible. But they wanted to put me on various pharmaceuticals to address the symptoms. And it was literally like the conversation was, why don't we start with this one and see if it works? And if it doesn't work, then we'll move on to this one, and so on and so forth. And I have always been sort of a person that I don't even like to take ibuprofen if I don't have to. I don't like to take anything if I don't have to. So I wasn't about to go down a rabbit hole of pharmaceuticals just to see if they would work. One, because that didn't sound right to me, and two, they weren't getting to the root of the issue anyways. They were just attempting to help calm down the symptoms. And so that was frustrating. I went through that. My wife has been a huge supporter in all of this, advocating for my health, and she started looking into things, talking to people, and I ended up going to a functional medical doctor locally here in Boulder, Colorado, who's Dr. Carnahan, Jill Carnahan, who was really Lyme literate, a mold expert, and she did a whole nother round of tests, and an IGeneX test specifically for Lyme, and I had all sorts of things pop up. So that Lyme obviously came back positive, mold toxicity, several other toxicities. I didn't have all of the co-infections that go along. I didn't have Babesia. So there was some good news. I didn't have everything, but like Epstein-Barr virus was popping up. Basically, what seems to have happened in my case was I had been exposed to Lyme and Epstein-Barr, like most people in the world, and had depleted my immune system to the point where it could no longer hold these things back, and they all came flooding through at one time, and that just that's what floored me. So with Dr. Carnahan, I started on, because I had kind of how I alluded to earlier, I wasn't big on taking pharmaceuticals or medicines of really of any kind, but I was willing to try this sort of naturopathic approach with herbs and things of that nature. So I started on that with her and didn't get a whole lot of relief from it, and it was really hard to manage. It was like 5 drops of this and 7 drops of this, and then you increase it to this, and this one has to be mixed with water, and this one at night,
Oh,
and
I've been
food,
there.
and this one without food, and you're just like, I can't. Plus, I'm at the firehouse for 24 hours a day. I'm like, I can't do this. It's not a sustainable treatment. And so, Dr. Carnahan was great. She was like, okay, let's manipulate it. Let's try something else. It just wasn't working. So I sort of scrapped that idea, and I went to I tried bee venom therapy, which I would have never thought of. Like who thinks of, oh, hey, to get better from something, I'm just going to start intentionally stinging myself with bees every other day. I did that at an organization. There's an organization called the Heal Hive that sort of guides you through that, and it actually worked. What worked about it wasn't necessarily the bee venom, but it puts you start that process out with just cleaning out your system. So you take a lot of potentially foods that can cause some sort of histamine reactions and things. So there was I removed dairy and gluten and refined sugars and all that sort of stuff, and I just started a pretty major lifestyle change, and that initially seemed to help. And then I added the bee venom into the equation, and that also seemed to help. This is when I started to finally feel like, oh, maybe there is a chance I'm gonna get over this. Like, this is actually kind of working. So I did that for about a year. I would order bees from a place in South Carolina. They would ship them to me, and I would literally sting. I got up to, I believe it was 8 or 10 bee stings per session every other day. So it's a lot, and there are drawbacks to that too. And then I started to get, so So sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place, but that program requires extensive blood work every 3 to 4 months because of the possibility of sort of anaphylactic reactions to bee venom. You really have to monitor what's going on in your system. And so I did, and I came back at one point. I came back with really high inflammatory markers, and so that the heel high was like, you got to stop doing the bee venom until you can get the inflammation under control, because it puts you at risk of an anaphylactic reaction can be a potentially life-threatening reaction. And so I had to stop with the bees. And so there I was like, okay, this was kind of working, and now I can't do it anymore. What's going to happen? Coincidentally, around the same time, who is it that someone, I can't remember her name. She approached me on Instagram about the NIKKI watches and the Lyme, and I was like, yes, I'll try it. Like I don't really know much about it. I went on the website. I was like, all right, well, in my mind, I'm like, I don't know how wearing something on my wrist, even just a little amount like of red light. I'd read a lot about red light therapy. I've done a lot of infrared saunas with the red lights and the therapy in it. So I knew of the potential there, but I didn't know a lot about it. And I really honestly didn't think just wearing something on my wrist it didn't seem significant enough. Like, I felt like I had just been stinging myself with bees every other day. Wearing a watch did not seem like it was going to be the same level of relief. And so, but I really had no other way to go. I had zero desire to go on any sort of giant antibiotic regimen, and I'd heard terrible things about those anyways. And so, long story short, Medica gave me a watch. It's the NIKKI plus Lyme. I started on it, and you can always tell with this stuff, or at least I could always tell, it's counterintuitive because you can tell it's working because you actually don't feel better right away. And so I put the watch on and I wore it on the Lyme program, so you had to start out kind of like, again, what appeals to me about this stuff is it isn't like, here it is, you're taking the full dose right away. With the Lyme program, you ease into it. So you're doing various frequencies that are handling other sort of stresses in your body, and then you're implementing the sort of Lyme specific frequencies gradually throughout the course of I believe it was a month, 30 days. And so at the end of the 30 days, then you're taking the full sort of dose. And I honestly don't remember how long it was before I sort of stopped feeling all of the sort of the Herx types of reactions and really started to feel good, but it wasn't much longer than that initial month. In fact, I think I had talked to the company and was like, hey, I've done this for whatever it was, 4 to 6 weeks, and can I stop? I was like, I think I'm fine. And it was explained to me that it's a lot like antibiotics, where you want to keep doing it because you just want to continue to keep it under control.
Next week, we will hear the conclusion of my interview with Ryan Sutter.
There's a new word for wellness, NIKKI. NIKKI is your personal wellness companion, a sleek, wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the NIKKI screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyles. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, NIKKI puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. NIKKI moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. NIKKI Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency-enhanced health. wearenikki.com.
Now, let's go to my conversation with athlete, comedian, film and stage actor, and Lyme warrior, Dan Payne.
Dan, thanks so much for joining us today. This is so wonderful. I know we are both Lyme patients in vastly different stages of our journey, but I think that this will be a great conversation because of it. So I'm super excited.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm excited to talk as well because it's all about learning.
Oh my gosh, I have definitely quite literally learned that over the years. So I know that all of our journeys with Lyme and tick-borne disease tend to be so similar, but also so different at different parts. I would love to hear a little bit about your path to diagnosis and what I guess the early stages of your Lyme journey looked like.
For sure. Well, it's really interesting once I had the diagnosis to look back and see the journey I'd been on and how I was unaware. And I know that there's so many varying degrees of how much it impacts each individual. And mine was a sort of mid-grade, low-grade experience that I wasn't even aware of. Ex-pro athlete, and then I've been fortunate to be a part of a stunt community doing a lot of stunts, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore. So I just chalked everything up to being life experiences and older, like constant inflammation, fatigue, brain fog, all these kind of things that I just thought that's life. I mean, I'm in my 50s, I have 2 kids, and I just spent every bit of my youth trying to be a pro athlete, which was an amazing experience, but it cost a lot. And so when I Sonia Christie, I had to give Sonia Christie, a friend of ours, I believe, all of ours, an incredible amount of credit for helping me out. Because she's like, there's a lot more going on than we know about. Maybe just come down and get some diagnostic stuff done with this really sweet gentleman named Stuart. And I was like, sure, I'll guinea pig anything, because I'm always up for finding a way to feel better, be better. It's like the athlete mentality. What edge can I find? And life's a long journey, and you want it to be a good one. So I wanted to find, if there's an edge, like if I'm lacking in certain things. So I went to see Stuart. And that was the very first time that I heard the word Lyme and my name in the same sentence. And Stuart he said, I've done this test a few times now, and I've got to say, I am 99% sure you have Lyme disease. And if I can be completely transparent on it and honest, I was like, okay, whatever, bud. I just did the whole full Canadian. Yeah, sure, buds. I couldn't believe it. Maybe I didn't want to believe it at the time, but I also just couldn't fathom how that's possible, because the concept of Lyme to me is debilitating. And for many people, it can get to that or worse. And for him to say, I have Lyme, I was like, I don't have any of those. It's not that bad. And then because of I don't know what to call it, my skeptic kind of due diligent mind, I wanted to go get a follow-up blood work done. And I wanted to know, because this was the frequency diagnostics that Stuart does, which are incredible. And I know how incredible they are because I went to get the blood work done from a naturopath, and sure as it was confirmed absolutely that I do have Lyme. And that blew my mind for 2 reasons. One, that I had Lyme and was completely unaware, other than these things now that I can associate with Lyme, the exacerbated inflammation, et cetera. And then the other fact that Stuart, through frequency, was able to determine that I was struggling with Lyme. So that was my journey to the point of finding out that I had Lyme, and it blew my mind. And then I was like, Stuart, what else? Tell me more. I need to know more. And it was really cool. And also Sonia, who's heavily involved in the frequency-based diagnostics and whatnot. And so with the confirmation of the blood work and Stuart and his incredible work, I was like, I guess I'm on a Lyme journey now. And I started doing a little bit more work and talking. Yeah, I don't have to feel the way I feel. The beauty of what I discovered for my journey is that I can peel all these layers of, I don't know what to call it, struggle back, if not away, and feel better, feel more present, feel more cognizant of, thought processing. I can feel less fatigue. I was a chronic napper. I thought it was just dad naps. Like my kids joked. I'd sit down on the couch at around 2:30, 3:30 in the day and out I'm going. And my kid's like, oh, dad nap. And it was a 20-minute power nap, but it was my system just kind of shutting down, trying to fight Lyme and just resetting and giving me the energy to get back at it. And yeah, the concept of less pain and less inflammation was almost tearful. Like I was like, you kidding me? I can, like, this doesn't have to hurt all the damn time. That was pretty cool. Anyway, I'm going to ramble, and you're going to have to cut me off because I'm still, like I said earlier, I'm a rookie when it comes to this. And so everything's new, fresh. I've been talking with Janice, who's been helping me out with she's incredible. So the soundboarding back and forth, I'm just like a giddy schoolboy, just like, what else can we do? How else do we play with this? How do I get better? So it's kind of, that's my journey. I'll shut up now.
No, I love it. And I think you reinforce something that's so important for this community and that so many people who are probably watching resonate with. And that is that you are constantly trying to find things to optimize your wellness, to help you feel better. It's a never ending quest. And I think it's why, they say in the tick-borne disease community, I think this should apply to everybody. You have to be your own best advocate. Nobody knows your system like you. Nobody knows your body like you. So like when you feel like something is off, it probably is a little bit off, right? And be on a never ending quest to learn because you never know what's going to help you. So I heard you mention fatigue with your dad naps that your kids like to give you, a hard time about. I heard you mention pain. Were those your most frequent symptoms at first? Or like as Lyme started to persist, or was there other stuff?
The brain fog? No, the brain fog was one as
Now
well.
you sound like me.
Yeah, right. But the really incredible part for me is, and this is something Janice and I have talked about, is that I'm only learning now as the Lyme as I'm dealing with it and finding more ways to look after my health and well-being. These are things that I was just unaware of. That's the kind of thing with Lyme that I was hoping other people will find out, that whatever your preconceived notion of Lyme is, because my preconceived notion was that it's debilitating, and if you don't deal with it, you're done for.
Yeah.
And that is obvious, that will be true for some people, and I hope that they get the help immediately and right away that they need. But my case is different. It wasn't as debilitating. It was creating far more struggle and far more difficulty than need be in my life that I was completely unaware of. I was unaware of it because I could chalk it up to real life situations and just pawn it off as like, I guess this is my life. This is my situation. And I think, it might have been serendipitous that Sonia Christie is a friend of mine and that she got me to that point, but I don't know that I ever would have found out that these things could be reduced, relieved, addressed had I not got that diagnosis. And I never would have known things could have been better. I would have been, obviously, I love to go to the gym, and not obviously, but I do love going to the gym. I like working out. I like looking after my health, but I was battling something I didn't even know I was in a battle with. And that's the cool part, is that if you don't, like you said, if you feel like something's off, we have to be our own best advocate, do our own due diligence, and find out what that means. And I'm not knocking Western meds, but when you go in, there's not a lot of time, and it's usually a one problem, one fix. Let's get it done, because they're under a lot of stress and duress, and they have a million things as well. But you have to look out for self, and supplements and alternative medicines, and like the stigma of alternative, like, oh, woo-woo stuff. No, there's so many very science-based, beautiful things that can help us all. And you have to want to feel the best you can. Like, I don't want to sit idly by and be a passenger in my own life. I've struggled with, oh, you know what? This is the one, I knew it would come around. I struggle with depression, have done all my life. It's amazing to understand now that Lyme disease can exacerbate depression. That almost brought me to tears. Like, to know that if I'm because I'm always dealing with and learning to deal with depression, but to know that if I can deal with this Lyme as well, that I can get a leg up in that journey and in that battle, holy doodles, like, that was incredible. Like, that was like, okay, let's go, pull the starter's gun. I'm in this race. Let's go. I rambled again. Hi.
The mental health issues around Lyme can be just as severe and just as debilitating as the physical challenges. So I completely understand that. And the two are so connected. And what I've heard from a lot of patients is that when you start treating the Lyme, the mental health starts to get better and starts to lift over time. It might not be perfect, but you do, receive some form of relief.
Well, if I can say the physical ailments, if you're constantly in pain, there's a negative element to that. If you
Oh,
wake
yeah.
up sore and if it's a constant thing, it nags at you and it will take its toll on your mental well-being. Like it's just it's a truth, I feel. Unless you're a masochist, pain sucks.
Yes.
And I'm not a masochist, so I don't want to deal with pain unless I absolutely have to. I understand the pain that like if I play sport and I have an injury, that's a choice I've made. But the aches and pains and the exacerbated things caused by Lyme that are from my past, if I can find a way to reduce or alter those to make my life and situation better, I'm in. And again, that it takes doing some due diligence for ourselves, being our best advocate. Another thing I wanted to, if you don't mind my throwing out there, is that I've realized now that once the diagnosis of Lyme came about and I was doing some work and reading and whatnot around it and telling others, it's amazing. There's a bit of and maybe I'm wrong, but I find there's a bit of a stigma around Lyme and saying that you have Lyme. And it made me angry. Like I have both frequency-based diagnosis and a naturopath full blood panel diagnosis. And it's a legitimate thing. And it's really frustrating to hear people like, oh yeah, Lyme. And they kind of just pawn it off. I'm not a small man and it makes me very Hulk angry and I want to rip limbs off. No, I'm just kidding. But it is very disappointing that there's a stigma attached to it because it is very real and it is very, to varying degrees, debilitating for people. That's annoying as heck for people to dismiss it. So that's a mental health element as too, is you start feeling like you shouldn't say anything. And then that community gets smaller because you don't have the support because or for me, I was like, well, I guess I won't be too open about it because these people are, not as receptive. That's changing. It's the same with depression. If you tell people you're depressed, they'll be like, oh, just smile. What have you got to be
Yeah.
depressed about? That's a whole other conversation. But there is the mental aspect is absolutely tied through physical pain, the struggle. If it's, if your brain is telling you, oh, this is another negative we have to deal with, then that's a tough battle mentally as well as the physical.
Absolutely. And going back to your comment about the stigma, it is disappointing. And there's such a lack of education, I think, in the general medical community. There's such a lack of education at a government level, I think, in most countries around it. It's isolating, and then it's mentally debilitating. And I'm curious for you, like, what was your pivotal moment where you decided that you had to share openly about this? Because I really commend you for that. I think it's a big deal, and I think it helps people feel not so alone. But I'm just curious, like, what was that moment for you?
It didn't take much. So depression, as I said, was a pretty big part, dark passenger, as I like to joke, with me for my life. And I,
Mhm.
not too long ago, decided to give it a name publicly and take its power away and start doing the work to make it better. And the support that I found from that was mind-blowing. It was incredible. And the feeling of not alone just from that simple exercise of saying it out loud was incredible. So the response and the amazing feedback and support I received by being open and honest about my depression, I've decided that if there's anything that's truth for me, because authenticity is one of my favorite words in the world. And if something is true for me and I'm going to be authentic about it, I will say it out loud. If there's any chance in any way, shape, or form it helps even just one person, then that's the benefit and that's the worth. So I don't know if it will, but why not take that chance because I had such a wonderful, strangely, ironically wonderful experience with being honest and open about my depression, that why not hope that that same result can happen from being honest and open about the fact that I have Lyme disease, and that it's, it's out there and people have to struggle with it. And my life is getting better because I now know what it is and I can do the things I need to do to deal with it. If that's somebody else's opportunity, then, and just saying it out loud helps, then this is me saying it out loud.
Those were some great interviews. Lots of useful tips and encouragement to hang on there. We'll be looking forward to hear more of Ryan and Dan's story next week. Right now, I want to introduce you to Free Medica CEO, Stephen Davis. Stephen has a major announcement to make. Stephen?
Thanks, Heather. Hi, my name's Stephen Davis, founder and developer of NIKKI, a personal frequency delivery system. This wearable is designed to deliver frequencies into the body to speed recovery from Lyme disease. Our Lyme suite of frequencies are the newest version of our Lyme recovery program. Thousands of Lyme sufferers, which include my family, use the Lyme daily to overcome Lyme disease. Today, I'm proud to announce a new suite of Lyme frequency sets that are going to be focused on co-infections. NIKKI is loaded with Lyme Daily, which deals with the Lyme disease, plus 9 additional frequency sets designed to address your worst co-infection symptoms. Those frequency sets include bacteria and virus, detox, emotional balance, gut health, histamine, mold and fungal, Lyme sleep, pain and stress. And we know that those are going to be well received from people with Lyme disease. We are passionate about speeding your recovery from Lyme disease. It's a terrible disease that no one should have to live with. Once you have used your Lyme Daily, then choose from the 9 frequency sets designed to offer relief from your most persistent symptoms. The key is to stick with it. Don't frequency hop until you've used the Lyme Daily. Best practice is use the other frequency sets for a minimum of 2 hours before switching to another. This is giving the frequency sets time to bring your body into balance. Good balance means good health.
So make sure to go to wearenikki.com/podcast, enter in BioBeats to get 10% off your NIKKI. And because we love our customers so much, the way we show appreciation is we give away a NIKKI device and a 1-year membership to our wellness store every month on the show. So make sure to go to the show notes to enter. Good luck. And make sure that you join us again next week for part 2. This will conclude our interviews with Ryan and Dan, and we'll discover that in addition to developing a self-managed personal program largely based on holistic therapies, my favorite kind, the recovery from Lyme demands determination, patience, and understanding, and the support of others. We will have more Lyme-specific content and other amazing prizes to celebrate Lyme Recovery Month. So make sure that you join us again next week. Thanks, and have a blessed day.
What is the wellness store, you ask? Let me tell you. Imagine a single place where every NIKKI Wellness program, present and future, are ready whenever you are. The NIKKI Wellness Store turns that vision into reality, offering a membership that keeps you connected to the most complete library of wellness support programs we've ever created. One membership, infinite access. With a NIKKI Wellness Store membership, unlimited access to the full NIKKI Wellness library, automatic updates as new programs are released, the freedom to create personalized daily playlists on the NIKKI Connect app, and we continually design new programs. Your membership will grow with you at no additional cost. Because wellness technology never stops improving, and neither do you. It's more than a membership. Every wellness store membership begins with the purchase of their NIKKI Wellness Technology, a wearable device that delivers wellness programs wherever life takes you. Your membership includes 1 full year of unlimited access to the complete wellness library and all future program releases. After the first year, your access continues with a simple annual renewal fee, so your library and collaborations with trusted global innovators keeps growing without interruption. This isn't just an upward, it's a movement toward a future where wellness technology never stops improving, because neither do you. Join the movement. The NIKKI Wellness Store isn't just a milestone, it's the future of wellness designed for freedom, value, and constant growth. New customers that join us will automatically get 1-year membership to the NIKKI Wellness Store. Current customers that have already owned a NIKKI, you will be grandfathered in and given a 2-year membership. And that's a thank you for walking with us for all this time.
There's a new word for wellness, NIKKI. NIKKI is your personal wellness companion, a sleek wearable device that lets you choose from a variety of programs to match your day. With a simple tap on the NIKKI screen, you can explore wellness programs created for different moments and lifestyles. Need a lift? Select energy. Looking to unwind? Tap stress and anxiety. Want to feel more at ease? Choose pain. Heading out on a trip? Try travel to help you feel ready for new adventures. From busy mornings to quiet evenings, NIKKI puts a variety of wellness experiences right at your fingertips and on your wrist. Life moves fast. NIKKI moves with you. It's a portable way to bring wellness technology into your everyday routine, wherever life takes you. Your day, your choice, your wellness program. NIKKI Wellness Technology. Delivering frequency-enhanced health. We are NIKKI.com. The views, information, and opinions expressed in this content are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Freemedica. Freemedica Technologies, Inc. and its employees are not responsible, nor verifies accuracy any of the information contained in the following content. The primary purpose of this content is to educate and inform. This content does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.